If you read the story of Exodus and you imagine you would be Moses, that seems very normal. You would be brave and kill the cruel Egyptian slave owner. You would answer God's call from the burning bush and say, Hineni. You would follow God's command to face the most powerful man in the land, Pharaoh, and order him to do what God says. In the Exodus story, you would be Moses. You would be brave. You would listen for God's call. You would have faith. You would tell truth to power. You would be a good leader. And you and I, we are sometimes brave. Sometimes we're afraid to do something, but we do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. We sometimes hear God's call when a stranger reaches out their hand for a hand up or a handout or a friendly handshake. And we oblige. For Deuteronomy tells us, you too must befriend the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Sometimes we tell truth to power. We rise to say or type in our emails or stand on street corners and say uncomfortable truths to those who can hurt us right then or make our lives worse later on. And sometimes we are the leaders, the people who can hurt others and make their lives worse. But like Moses, we do the right thing and lead in the right way. But if you read the story of Exodus and you imagine you could be Pharaoh, you are getting close to another truth. We want to be the hero, but we are in danger of being the villain. And what makes Pharaoh such a villain? Well, he is not brave. When he sees that his Hebrew slaves are obedient but multiplying, he orders death upon them for political reasons, so the Hebrew slaves won't join his enemies in the future. He ignores God's call. He doesn't wrestle with God like Abraham, Jacob, and Moses do, but crosses his arms and says no. Pharaoh is stubborn, and worse, he is cruel. And we are sometimes stubborn. And we are sometimes, if not cruel, at least not as kind as we could be. Sometimes the Torah says Pharaoh hardened his own heart. And sometimes it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart in order to play his part in the Hebrews in God's story in Exodus. Are we like the characters in a story in our life? When we are stubborn or cruel, can we say that God has hardened our hearts in moments so we can play a role in a story? No, we're not characters, we're grown-ups. We harden our own hearts. If we don't do the right thing, maybe we're disappointed with ourselves. But we also sometimes point the finger at our own sense of identity. I'm weak. I can't be brave. Or we point the finger at others. My bravery was squeezed out of me by those people. Moses tries to talk himself out of his responsibility too, as a shepherd in the wilderness. And God doesn't let him. The story of Exodus tells us two stories of two men. One man led a hard life, Moses, and does the right thing, listens at the right time, and helps people around him. Another man who led a privileged life, Pharaoh, does the wrong thing, refuses to listen, and hurts those around him. Now that I've told you we might be Moses, but we're probably sometimes or often Pharaoh, I do not want to invite us to wallow in misery or self-criticism. Don't beat yourself up about it, as the kids say. I want to invite you to consider one person, one place, one situation, or one hurt that you've allowed to harden. You are a living, breathing, alive person here and now. And what's hard can still soften. And what's stubborn can still open. And what we've done today or long ago, a mistake, an insult, a stubborn refusal, can be transformed into a healing, a kind word, doing a little better. Our tradition gives us words from the book of Lamentations for this hope that we can and will do better. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Bring us back and we will return. Show us the way, God, and we will follow. Shabbat Shalom.